Hello, hello, it's Blake Hart here, and today we are talking about what kind of wedding DJ are you? Or what kind of wedding DJ do you want to be? If you're just starting out in the business, maybe you're just like, hey, I want to be a wedding DJ, but what does that really mean? Now, we see all of these grandiose videos of different wedding DJs events where we see, the sparklers going off, the CO2 guns, the insane lighting setups, and just this over the top production, which is super cool, right? For some couples, but not every single couple wants that. Now, this is going to vary regionally, probably a little bit, in terms of what couples may be looking for or not looking for. You can say it's going to vary regionally, but I want to say that there is always a niche for each type of couple. Not all wedding couples fit into the same box, so you don't all have to be the same DJs. And as you're just trying to figure out maybe where you are headed or going, or, what's on your to buy list for gear, maybe take a step back. Take a step back and think about, what kind of DJ do you want to be? Who is your niche market, your niche couples that you're really looking for? So let me talk a little bit about myself. When I started out in the business, there was this concept of the cheesy wedding DJ, right? And I did not want to be a cheesy wedding DJ. I mean, that wasn't me. Like, they were sort of old. They were all like wearing tuxedos. Like, they just weren't cool, okay? And here I was, young and cool, at least in my own mind. And I wanted to provide something different to the market that didn't exist at that time. So for me, I really honed in. I was in the Massachusetts area, mostly Connecticut. Again, did some New York, New Jersey, but my couples were couples who really loved music. They had a fine ear for music. I would say a lot of them probably leaned more towards, like maybe listening to what people would consider alternative music or singer-songwriter music. But they didn't want that obviously played at their whole wedding. That was maybe a part of the cocktail hour, a part of dinner. But what they did want during the party was no cheesiness, no YMCA, no, I don't know, you name it, line dances, Cupid Shuffle. They didn't want that. They didn't want line dances. They didn't want the cheesy music they've heard at every other wedding they've been to, because they have this refined palette, right, of music that they really enjoyed. And not to say that that wasn't all over the place either, right? Because these couples didn't all like one genre of music, but I worked with them to figure out, like, hey, like, what is it that you want to hear? And maybe it was like a lot of old soul music, or R&B, or, new wave, or 80s, like, crate digging, like, types of songs that we all still knew, but maybe we hadn't heard in a while. And even maybe some house music, or maybe some music like I would play in the nightclubs that I worked at. Some open, format type of remixes and whatnot. But I had this niche, right? So my couples were really into music. And that is what I used as one of my selling points, is this knowledge of music that goes beyond beyond the cheesiness, beyond the songs that you're going to hear at every single wedding. I'm going to give you something different, something tailored to yourself, something more refined. And so those are my couples. So with that, I'm going to go into tell you more, and that these couples in that niche, they didn't want the over the top lighting stuff going on. They didn't want CO2 guns. They did not want that stuff, right? To them, that stuff was just like, what the heck? Why would I want that? So, having said that, a lot of my couples, a lot of the venues I worked at were these places, these amazing places that they've rented out, farms and barns and botanical gardens, and places that they had to rent out and then bring in like all their own people and stuff. They weren't at necessarily function halls, venues. Not to say that I didn't do weddings in those places, because I did, but I'm just talking about, like, a lot of my couples, this niche, they were more, barn type of wedding people, winery type of wedding people, those types of venues. And it became, again, my niche, right? So I had these couples who really enjoyed music, refined palate for music, as I'd like to say, and they had chosen a place that they liked the way it looked. They liked the barn. They liked the rustic feeling. They liked the winery. They didn't want somebody coming in with a bunch of moving headlights and sparklers and all kinds of stuff, right? So what I'm getting at with my niche, I needed my setup, right? I needed my speakers, I needed my mics, maybe I did a few uplights. Once in a while I did a small lighting rig if the couple really wanted it, but I always told people that it wasn't my focus, right? My focus was on the music and the sound quality and just the general flow and vibe and like coolness of their wedding, and that is what I built my business on. And there was an extreme niche for that, okay? So I bring this to you because I think as a DJ just starting out and you're wanting to become a wedding DJ, or you're just getting into a wedding DJ, you have this maybe false notion that you need to provide it all. You need to sell it all. You need to have every single package possible. Every like moving headlights and this and that and offer all these things, but you don't. If you want to be that type of DJ, totally respect that. That's what you see in a lot of these YouTube videos that you're looking at from other prominent DJs, whether in the New Jersey or Metro New York City region or in California or wherever you may be looking at these videos. There are a lot of DJs that are providing those like, whoa, like productions. It takes a ton of people to put that together, right? They're not doing it by themselves. They've got a team that's doing that, right? And to build your business up to that, okay, that takes a while, and that's only for certain people. Not everybody wants that. Maybe you've got this side hustle and that's what you want. You want to be able to do the side hustle and you want to make it manageable and you feel like you can fit in this niche. Well, that's a great place for you to be. You don't have to worry about spending the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on all this additional gear for the production. You don't need to worry about having a team of 5 people every time you set up to make sure you can get set up and broken down in an actual amount of time that makes sense, right? Because if it was just you, that stuff would take a long time, right? So I just wanted to put other alternative out there for those of you that may feel a little overwhelmed trying to jump in this business. There's not a lot of DJs, or at least there's so many YouTube channels, right? Like, I don't know them all. I don't know them. Every day somebody new pops up and I'm like, oh wow, I've never even heard of that person. But point being is I feel like you're seeing a lot of these crazy productions and not a lot of just like maybe the basic weddings that are happening all over. They're happening in New York City. They're happening in New Jersey. They're happening in various, places in California, in the middle of the country, everywhere. They're happening because there's all kinds of couples. Not every single couple who is getting married wants the same thing. So please don't put yourself in a box and feel like that's what you need to give them. Again, especially if you're just getting started out in this, like it's hard. You can get overwhelmed by all that stuff. There's so much investment that goes into just buying, your DJ gear, your speakers, your microphones, all that stuff, without even thinking about the moving heads that, those cost a lot of money, right? Those aren't cheap. A lot of money being racked up there. So I can see what maybe your other thought is right now. But Blake, if I don't have all those things to offer, these additional things, I'm not going to make as much money. And I don't want you to see it that way, right? I don't want you to see that wedding couples are just putting value in these additional things that you can add on. And that's the only way, you can make a decent amount of money, because it's just not true. So think about it. When you're putting on a big production, there's a lot more financially involved. Again, you need a bigger crew of people to put that together. You've invested in that stuff. There is a cost involved in doing that. So take that layer away. You don't have any of those costs, right? So when you're thinking about how much money you're making, it's all relative to how much money you're putting into it too, right? So that's something to think about. But also, if people really want you as their DJ and they want your music and they want you for what you do, which is DJing, right, in this niche, they're going to pay. They're paying top dollar for these types of venues. It's not cheap to have your wedding on a farm, at a barn, at a winery, at these places that are just outright beautiful and amazing to begin with. That's not cheap. So these niche couples, not only do they have the money, but they're willing to pay for your talents as a DJ because they want the best music that they can get. They don't want any of the cheesiness. They don't want somebody that's going to drop YMCA because they think, hey, this is going to work right now and it's not on the do not play list. They don't want those DJs. And they're willing to pay for a DJ who is really great at their craft and just not a part of that niche. I wanted you guys to know that. I wanted you to know that, and I'm going to go into more videos about that because I think that this is a niche area that is just not talked about enough. And for those of you that are new, that are trying to figure out your path, hopefully these videos are helpful. All right, guys, hope that was enough for you today to take something valuable away from there. Got more videos coming soon. I do appreciate your love as I continue to just try to create. I am in a creating mode, and I'm going to try to keep running with this. So thank you. Hit that subscribe button if it's your first time here. I'll see you again soon.